Did you, in fact, analyze some data?
I did.
I'm going to slide number 6 at this point. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
Yeah, so again, these are the cell phones and associated users that I was given for each of the numbers, and then their providers. So, obviously the vehicle, its phone located within the vehicle was using AT&T, as was the blue phone of Mindy, and then had a red phone, which was a Verizon phone associated with Nicholas Kassotis, and then another phone associated with Nicholas Kassotis was a T-Mobile phone, kind of shown here in yellow or orange.
Were all 4 of those devices mapped?
They were.
Okay. Ultimately, were you asked to map specific dates in conjunction with this case?
Yeah, so I reviewed the records for every one of these. And then I focused my analysis on important dates, times, and locations that I was asked to by the investigators.
And did you have any mappable activity for the Verizon device and the blue device associated with Mindy Kassotis?
I did not. So the device ending in 8328, the red device, and the blue device ending in 0847 had no activity during the times I reviewed, so you won't see any of their analysis because there was no activity to map.
So those 2 phones are not part in any way of this presentation?
That's correct.
Okay. And now I'm going to slide 7. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
So again, depicted here is cell phone towers and locations of interest that I was asked to review. One thing to note is you'll see a lot of blue dots and a lot of green dots on here. The blue dots are AT&T towers, and the green dots are T-Mobile towers. Again, you can kind of see what we talked about in locations where there's more people live and more people work. There's lots of towers together. Look at the downtown Savannah area, right? Towers look like they're right on top of each other. As opposed to you go to more rural parts of this, you'll see that towers get farther apart because there's less people. But on the left-hand side is all the locations that I was asked to review.
Did you also review another location that is referenced with an HD?
I did, Home Depot.
Okay, can you tell us, what do you do when you get an address from a law enforcement agency seeking to map it?
Yeah, so let's say at the top, right, I was given a Bass Pro Shops address and said, hey, can you add this in your analysis? Well, I look up the Bass Pro in the area, make sure that that address is correct, and then that address does exist and where it is approximate to the Bass Pro. So I look at the map, make sure the address puts the marker exactly where Bass Pro is. If I have a place like a residence where, I can't look up, hey, residence for somebody, such and such, and put that up there. I just take that address and I put it in and verify that that is a legitimate address, and then place the marker on the map.
Okay. And with respect to the other locations, meaning the B1 torso recovered, B2 head recovered, all of those below it, what are those numbers underneath that?
Yeah, so those are latitude and longitude spots. So the investigators, when they found such an item, they would mark the location where that item was recovered, the specific location. So it's basically a GPS coordinate of where that object is or was recovered. Like in the pumping station is located at that specific latitude and longitude.
And did those also get dropped onto this map?
They did. And you can kind of see them all kind of bunched together on the bottom kind of portion of the map with underneath the KF there. Since a lot of these locations are in a closer proximity, they kind of all bunched together on this slide.
And why are they all bunched together in this fashion?
Yeah, because I wanted this slide to show all of the locations from, the Home Depot down to the area where the body parts and the pumping station were. I want it all on one slide. So that made some of the locations kind of overlap since they are closer together.
I'm going to show you now slide number 8. Can you tell us first what date and time range were you mapping on this slide?
Yeah, can I orient them to how the slide's laid out?
Of course.
Okay, so at the very top, you'll see the date and time period of the slide. So each slide is like a snapshot of time. So this covers obviously November 28th, 2022, between 1:12 p.m. and 1:31 p.m. The next couple slides will be ongoing time periods. So this slide just covers that one time period. At the top left, you'll see the phone number and then again the vehicle that I mapped activity from its call detail records. Underneath that, again, you see green dots, T-Mobile towers, blue dots, AT&T towers. On the far right-hand side, near the top, you see the residence and then the Bass Pro, basically those rectangles. Those are important locations that I was asked to review the phones during this time period as it pertained to those locations of interest.
Can you tell us when the call-out boxes, what is relevant in call-out box number 1?
Yeah, so again, you see 1, and you see it has the yellow circle with the black number 1, and then you see the towers listed there. And then if you look underneath there, you see the activity. So again, the vehicle had a data session that initiated at 1:12 using that tower and sector you see there. And then there's several data sessions from the 4570 cell phone, one at 1:14, 2 at 1:14, and 2, it looks like at 1:26, I think. Hold on.
You know, Michael, sometimes defense attorneys say, okay, that says the cell phone was there. It doesn't mean my client was there. But when you then have the cell phone and the defendant's vehicle, it really starts to close the gap, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how strong that argument ever really is. I mean, you got to make it.
It is, but they make it.
And it can happen.
Sure.
But, you know, in this particular instance, like you said, when you have the car and the phone, it becomes a bit harder.
Yep, we're going to listen because the details really come together to paint the picture. Stay tuned. We'll be right back on the other side of this short break.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are today in South Georgia for the second week in the dismembered wife murder trial. Prosecutors say defendant Nick Kassotis killed and dismembered his wife, Mindy Kassotis, in late of 2022.
The remains of Mindy Kassotis were found scattered throughout a local hunting club property over a 3-mile radius, but it wouldn't be until several months later that police would be able to identify her body and track down her husband, who was now going as Nick Stark, already remarried and living in Pennsylvania. Let's get you back into court now. We are listening to an FBI agent who reviewed Kassotis' cell phone data, 3 phones, 1 vehicle, putting it all together. Let's go back in where we left off.
That's correct, in 1:28.
So these are local time, you said, correct?
These are all in local time.
Okay, so that number 1 where we see the sector that you were referring to, they were previously the 2 red lines, they are now, is that black?
One is black for the vehicle, and then the other is that yellow or orange for the cell phone.
Okay, and is that call-out box that's in the bottom right of that slide, is that depicted somewhere else on the map itself?
It is. It's showing the towers from number 1.
So what is that letter B reference?
The B, as you can see in the top right, is the Bass Pro Shops.
So what conclusions were you able to draw from the call-out box number 1 and the tower number 1?
Yeah, that both the vehicle and the cell phone ending in 4570 had data sessions that used towers and sectors that were in close proximity to the Bass Pro Shops between 1:12 and 1:28 p.m.
And were you asked to look at that specific time for a reason?
I was, and you can kind of see the snapshot on the left-hand side. I was told that there was a purchase, and attached is a copy of a receipt, kind of see on the left-hand side there. And the time listed on the receipt is November 28th, 2022 at 13:23, which is 1:23 Eastern Time.
Okay. PM.
Correct.
And was that consistent with what you found in Tower 1, box call-out 1 as well?
It is.
And can you tell us what is in call-out box 2?
Yeah, so again, 2 is a different tower and sector, and we see that the vehicle had a data session at 1:31, and that vehicle is now appears to have moved northbound away from the tower it used at 1:12. At 1:31, the vehicle appears to have traveled north from its original location.
Can you tell us, just so we're clear, what exactly is a data session?
Yeah, so a data session is on a device, anything from one of two things. It can be user generated, right? We can be on there surfing the internet, streaming audio or video, but it can also be refreshing. So things in the background of your phone refreshing. So if you're like me, in your Internet Explorer, however you get to the internet on your phone, if you open it up, I got like 40 tabs underneath there, right? I don't close things out, I don't know. But some of those things refresh as the phone sits there. So that would be a data session. The phone is interacting with the tower, transmitting data back and forth. So we can see the tower and sector used during that data session. Well, that's the same with the vehicle, right? Vehicles, some interact and check in with the network more than other vehicles. It's proprietary information. Maybe Nissan's interested in this and Ford's interested in this, so they set their phones to send this information during that time period. Fords historically are very chatty on the network, meaning they love to transmit information, which we'll see here in the next couple of slides.
So again, just to make sure, the orange coloring is the phone device for the phone ending in 4570, is that right?
That's correct.
And then the black numbers in those call-out boxes would be the Ford vehicle.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm now turning to slide number 9. Can you tell us what you placed on this slide?
Yeah, so again, this is same kind of layout. On November 29th here of 2022, we're looking at between 8:33 a.m. and 9 a.m. It's the same phone ending in 4570, the orange or yellow, and then the black is the vehicle. And then on the right-hand side, we have the residence again, but now we also added the location of a Home Depot on East Victory Drive, which is the yellow box with the letters HD in it.
And what did you find about tower location 1 by the residence?
Yeah, so there's vehicle data sessions that are initiated at 8:33 and 8:42, which would be consistent with the vehicle being at or in the vicinity of the residence. And then we see that device have its next data session at 8:58, which is tower number 3, the black device. Again, now that's over near the Home Depot. And then in between those at 8:54 and 9 o'clock, we have data sessions for the phone. Again, the orange phone. Again, in the vicinity of the Home Depot.
Can you explain why number 2 and number 3 are facing each other?
Yeah, so again, these are two different networks. So one is AT&T, the vehicle, and one is T-Mobile, that's the phone. So they may share the same tower, but they don't necessarily do that all the time. In fact, most of the time, they don't. So what we might see is, T-Mobile has its antenna for an area over on this side, on the right-hand side, but to cover the same area, AT&T might put its tower on the left-hand side. Again, it's just how the phone companies decide to put their towers. But one significant factor, obviously, is there's 3 activities, 2 from the phone and 1 from the car. 8:54 from the vehicle, from the phone, 8:58 from the car, and then 9 o'clock from the phone. Again, both of those are kind of pointing in the same general area. One's opening to the right.
You know, again, tightening the noose, so to speak, because, Mike, when you have a Home Depot receipt and then you have the defendant's cell phone close to that Home Depot at the same time, I think it draws that conclusion it had to have been him that was there doing it.
Yeah, and again, we have to wait for the cross because we know these are not exact sciences,
True.
right? There'll be some questions, I'm sure, but it doesn't look good for the defendant.
And they could have their own cell phone expert. You never know. All right, stay tuned. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get you back inside the courtroom.
A woman's remains found scattered throughout a 3-mile area.
Now, a former naval officer stands trial accused of killing his wife.
The Dismembered Wife murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, untangling a web of lies and deceit as a former naval officer stands accused of murder. We're live with the latest from the Dismembered Wife murder trial.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Let's get back to the dismembered wife murder trial going on in Georgia. Defendant Nicholas Kassotis is accused of killing then dismembering his wife Mindy in 2022.
Hunters found her remains in multiple locations on a hunting property south of Savannah. The defense is pointing the finger at a mystery man known as Jim. But so far, we haven't seen any evidence that this person exists. Right now, let's get you back inside the courtroom. The jury is hearing from an FBI agent that investigated Kassotis' cell phone data.
One is opening to the right, and one is opening to the left with the Home Depot in the middle.
And were you asked specifically to look at that time frame for a particular reason?
I was, and you'll see on the right-hand side again is a snippet of a receipt on November 29th of 2022 at 8:56 a.m., a purchase of something, I don't know.
Okay. And that purchase and that date and time was what caused you to look for the activity of the data sessions. God bless you.
Bless you.
For that date and time?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And that activity put that vehicle and the device in the vicinity of what?
Of the Home Depot, starting at 8:54 and ending at around 9 o'clock. Those last two interactions.
Now, with respect to call out box 1, can you tell us that CID that's in the top, what is that?
So the CID, so again, that's 7403884. That's that unique tower number.
And is that tower number in the vicinity of what?
That tower is in the vicinity of the residence.
And the residence being, would that be the address that you have on the top right corner?
It is 311 East 65th Street in Savannah.
And I'm now going to show you slide number 10. What is depicted here?
So again, still on the 29th, between 9:09 and 9:42. Same one vehicle, and same locations of interest, the Home Depot and the residence shown here. And then obviously you have all the dots from the blue cell phone towers and the green towers. But what this shows is basically movement of both the device and the vehicle. Starting at the first activity at 9:09, you can see tower number 1 has activity of both the vehicle and the car. And then we see interactions from both the vehicle and the car as the devices move westbound, most likely on 16, and then southbound on most likely 95, with this slide ending on tower number 5 at 9:42 a.m. The vehicle and phone appear to be headed south on 95.
And so would it be fair to say that you're able to track essentially movement?
Absolutely.
And how do you do that specifically?
Yeah, I mean, if you know a phone used a tower in a sector at a specific time periods, you can see, hey, if it used this one, 10 minutes later it used one to the right, further to the right another 10 minutes later. We know that the device traveled in that direction in order to use those towers at specific time periods.
Would that be even more prevalent, for example, if the device is a car? And I say device, in this case, I mean the cellular card is associated with a car?
Correct.
Okay. I'm now moving to slide number 11. Can you tell us what's depicted at slide number 11?
Yeah, so here, again, 9 at the top, 9:59 to 12:03 p.m., still on the 29th. Still the same phone and same vehicle, orange for the phone, black for the vehicle. Now we have a lot of locations of interest listed on the right-hand side. You see in red is basically the various body parts and where the knife was found. And then there's also a purple or pink square representing a pumping station there. And then if you look at the activity of the device, I'm going to look at my slides because that yellow's hard to see. So if you look at the time periods, you'll see the device uses tower number 1, which again is off 95 there. At 9:59, it uses the northeast side, so kind of the right-hand side. And then at 10:04 and 10:05, now it's using the left-hand side. And we can tell that because in that box, it may be hard to see, but the last two numbers, one says 86 for the 9:59 activity. Well, an azimuth of 86 is basically east, because 90 degrees would be due east. And then the 240 is going to be basically south and west. So we can tell which of these...
Still with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Jack Rice. All right, Jack, you know, Michael mentioned, okay, just because the cell phone data that they're presenting says this is the case, it doesn't necessarily have that kind of accuracy. What do you do with the defense? Because it's now put the defendant's phone and the receipt from Home Depot where he purchased the knife, all of this allegedly, but it sounded like a pretty good version.
Yeah, it sure is, Your Honor. There's one aspect to this that people might miss is that listen to the talent of this FBI agent. I mean, there's talent here because if you look at what he's doing is he is walking people through this. He's not talking to the prosecutor. He's talking to this jury. And what he's doing is he's explaining literally how we're tracking him. How we're tracking him, not just with his phone, but with his 2022 Ford Explorer. Believe it or not, you can tell, generally speaking, how fast he was going. You can. You can actually know when he came to a stop. You can. You can tell when he opens the doors. You can. All of these issues are designed to show step by step where he moved, when he took a left, how he went north, then he turned around and started coming south. All of that is designed to say it was the car, it was the cell phone, it was the guy. There is no question. There is nobody else who would have done it because who else went into the bass shop? He did. Who went into the Home Depot? He did. Are we suggesting that somehow he stopped and switched cars? That somebody else got in that car now? I'm sorry. That goes beyond belief. And I think what you're saying from the defense right now is, wow, this guy's better than we really hoped he would be.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Judge, because you've talked to me a lot of times about these types of experts can get boring, but I've been clued into what he's saying. Like, he hasn't been boring to me. There's something about the information he's delivering that is bringing it home.
And I think that's an art, like you said, Jack. What a great witness to present this to us. All right, thank you, of course, Jack Rice, for joining us. Coming up, more of the dismembered wife murder trial for Nicholas Kassotis. Stay with us here on Court TV Live.
Why did you kill Mindy? Sir, I didn't kill Mindy. You killed Mindy. I did not. All the evidence shows that you killed Mindy, and we'll continue to show.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala.
And I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. We are bringing you day 5 of testimony in the dismembered wife murder trial in Georgia. Nicholas Kassotis is accused of killing his wife, Mindy, back in November of 2022 and scattering her remains in several areas throughout South Georgia.
5 months after her remains were found by hunters, she was identified through genetic genealogy. Now, shortly after that, Kassotis was arrested. Today, the state played some of his videotaped police interview. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft joins us now with a debrief.
Good evening to you, Michael and Judge Ashley. Court has ended for the day here in Hinesville, Georgia. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning beginning at 10 a.m. And the big news out of court proceedings today is the state does plan to rest its case in chief tomorrow afternoon. They have 4 witnesses left to call in their case. And then we'll have to see if defense counsel decides to present a case. But meanwhile, the defendant in this case, Nicholas Kassotis, continues to listen very closely and take copious notes throughout the trial. He is a former prosecutor himself. Today, jurors had the opportunity to listen to him and view him during an interrogation video that was played for the jurors. It was quite lengthy, in which the one investigator suggested that maybe there was a motive for him killing his wife, Mindy. Let's go ahead and listen.
I never hurt Mindy. You did hurt me. No, I fed her. I helped her out of bed. I did.
You had started a new relationship with somebody online.
I was flirting with someone online.
You were running out of options. You were running out of funds.
No, sir.
Did you discover the lie that Mindy wasn't pregnant?
No, sir.
She wasn't.
I thought she was pregnant.
Hunters found Mindy's remains scattered throughout an area in Riceboro, Georgia. Soon thereafter, her husband was arrested. He maintains his innocence and said so during the statement and the interrogation video that was played for the jurors today.
Your world of lies, we have picked it apart. We picked it apart before we came to Pennsylvania. But since it got out, there's even been more people that called, more people that have more stories that you've spun off of this. I get that you're scared. Everybody I've talked to, this is not who you are. They don't think you're a monster, but they don't believe your story. Whatever it was that made you snap, whether it was you just had to get out, you didn't want to tell her you wanted to leave, you didn't want to accept that she wasn't pregnant, or you were scared and terrified that now you had this new relationship that was up and budding and you didn't want to continue.
This is somebody I never met.
Now you're married. After you tell your former in-laws, after you tell them, you fabricate a message and send it to them and tell them that you died in a car wreck.
I did not do that.
You did do that.
I did not do that.
You did do that.
During court proceedings tomorrow, we expect the prosecution to call a friend or a former friend of Nicholas Kassotis. That's the latest from here in Hinesville, Georgia. We'll send it back to you.
Thank you so much to Kelly Craft. Right now, testimony is continuing in this trial, so we want to go back to court where FBI agent James Berni is testifying about cell phone data that was captured on cell towers.
The phone used at specific times based off of the azimuths there. And then we also, in that same general area at 10:02, have activity on tower number 2 for the vehicle. And we see, again, that all located in the same area there.
Would it be fair to say then that because there's data sessions for the vehicle and data session for that wireless number, that both of those are interacting with the tower at the same times that are listed in those call-out boxes?
Oh, they're definitely interacting with the towers at these specific times.
Would the phone itself and the car then have to be in the vicinity of that tower for that to occur?
That's correct, yeah, in the footprint of it.
Okay. And with respect to these dates and times, that very last number that is the degrees that it's facing, is that correct?
The degrees the azimuth of the sector is facing, correct.
Okay. And so would it be fair to say that that's able to tell you the movement direction of the vehicle and the device?
Objection leading. It is.
But it doesn't suggest an answer.
just try to avoid that, counsel.
Will do.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, normally if you see a change in azimuth, it either means one of two things. So there's overlap between towers and overlap between sides, meaning these are mobile devices, right? They're meant to be moved everywhere. So the way they make a network is the cell phone tower on the right, and you got a cell phone tower on the left. Well, what they don't want is those coverage areas to stop and not touch each other, right? Because then when we drive from the right to the left, we lose coverage, we get our call hang up before we enter the next sector. We get pretty mad about that as customers. Well, what they want to do is overlap the towers a little bit. So that way when you're traveling from the right to the left, you're in what sector number 1, you're in the overlap, handing over to sector or tower number 2, and then in tower number 2. So when we see different azimuths on one tower, it's one of two things. It's either the phone sits in the overlap of the sides or sectors, or the device is moved from one side of the tower to the other.
Does box number 3 assist in making that determination?
Very much so.
Explain how.
Yeah, because in box number 1, right, we see at 9:59, it used the right-hand side of tower number 1. And then at 10:04 and 10:05, we see the phone use the left-hand side of tower number 1. Well, if you look at tower number 3 at 10:15, the phone used tower number 3, which is farther to the left. So we can then deduce that the phone started at the right and moved to the left.
And are there times for those data sessions in call-out box 3?
There are.
And what were those?
So there's 10:15, 2 of them, 10:15:50, 10:15:51, and then the next ones are 12:03:57 and 12:03:58.
Can you explain to the jury why there's such a large gap in that time?
Yeah, so as we've kind of seen through the analysis, you know, data sessions check in at various times and dates. But if you look through the course of the records, which I did, you know, it's normally checking in every, you know, sometimes a lot, but the vast majority at least once in an hour. Well, what we see here is you have a gap of about 2 hours, which could be indicative of a couple things. One is the device could have been turned off. Therefore, there's no check-ins between the device and the network because the device is powered off. The device could have been put in Wi-Fi mode, so only cellular, or correction, only Wi-Fi mode, taking it off the cellular network. Or number 3, it could have been in a spot where there's no cell phone coverage at all.
If there were no cell phone coverage, would you have seen those data sessions that are depicted therein? That box?
No, there's definitely network or coverage areas at 10:15 and 12:03, and we're going to see some drive test data. We drove all the areas basically in the middle of the map here, and you'll see there's coverage areas all throughout there. Maybe not the best, but there are coverage areas all through there.
And you did drive testing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean you were physically on the ground in this area?
That's correct.
Was this rural or urban?
It is very rural.
Okay.
In fact, we had to get keys to get some gates open because there were locked gates and, you know, just vast majority of land. In fact, there's an impact area out there too.
Okay. And can you tell us what is depicted in number 4?
Number 4 is the next time after, so if we're looking at the vehicle, at 10:02, you see it used tower number 2, so right where 95 is down there. And the next activity on the vehicle is at 10:21, and then we see it use tower number 4 between 10:21 and 11:54. During that time period, it also uses tower number 2 twice, once at 10:33 and once at 10:34.
So all of those data sessions that are listed in box 4, Do they tell you anything as to the vicinity of the vehicle at the times listed there?
Yeah, we know that it's in the general area that would be provided by tower number 3. So again, I can't draw on here, but it's basically an area, reaching out from tower number 4 to an area of overlap of its next towers. And we see kind of the next AT&T tower, if we're looking down from 4, the next tower is number 2. But if you look left of tower number 2, all the way to the blue dot to the left of number 3. So again, in between number 4 and the blue dot on the left of number 3, somewhere in there is going to be the handover between those 2 towers.
Okay. And so what does that mean with respect to the vehicle sessions in respect to the waypoints you listed for B1, 2, 3, 4, and where the knife was found?
Yeah, so all of those locations, the closest AT&T tower and sector to it are tower number 4 and the sector shown.
And was that vehicle in the vicinity of Tower 4 at the time period between between 10:21 a.m. and 11:54 a.m.?
Correct, it was.
Now, tell us what is in box 5.
So again, the vehicle uses box 5, checks in a data session, 2 of them, at 10:33 and 10:34.
Would that also demonstrate any overlap?
Yeah, there's going to be overlap between Tower 4 and Tower 5. Maybe a little bit more than halfway, right? There's going to be some overlap between the 2 of those. And this will, again, the footprint will make more sense when we see the drive test data in a minute.
Now, were you able to determine what happened after 12:03 p.m.?
Oh, there was more on that slide. I wasn't sure.
My apologies. I'll go back. Please tell us, what did I fail to inquire? Oh, the top left side of the map. Can you tell us what the video at the pump station referenced?
Yeah, so I put a yellow square up there on the left-hand side, and it just says that I was notified that there was...
Objection to hearsay. What's the state's response?
I can rephrase it.
Okay.
Is there a reason that you mapped a particular area between 11:16 a.m. and 12 p.m.?
Yes.
Why did you map that area without telling us what was said?
Yeah, I mapped that area because there was video of a Ford Explorer collected near that pumping station, which is the pink box with the letters PS in it.
And where is that PS in relation to Tower 4?
You see it in the middle of the map. Again, Tower 4 and the sector used is the closest tower and sector, AT&T-wise, to the pumping station.
And with that vehicle identification number for that 2022 Ford Explorer data, put that where in relationship to the pumping station?
Yeah, so again, it used the data on tower number 4 between 10:21 and 11:54.
Thank you.
We need to take a break. When we return, the witness continues testifying about movement of the defendant's vehicle. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
The matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Terrible.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage begins August 19th, only on Court TV.
Before we get you back to court, here are a few other cases that Court TV is tracking.
In South Carolina, a jury found Ronnie Todd guilty of 2 counts of murder for the shooting deaths of Emily Richartelli and John Ashley Altman, his ex-girlfriend, and her new boyfriend. The trial immediately went into sentencing after the verdicts. Todd was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
In New York, a federal judge has denied the government's request to unseal grand jury transcripts from its investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. She was a longtime companion of Jeffrey Epstein, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for sexually exploiting and abusing teenage girls.
And in Georgia, jury selection gets underway tomorrow for a man standing trial for the cold case murder of his wife, who was the daughter of a convicted serial killer. Now, Melissa Wolfenbarger went missing in 1998. Her husband, Christopher, claimed that she left on her own accord. Now, he was always a person of interest, but he wasn't arrested until August of last year. All right, let's get you back now to the dismembered wife murder trial in Georgia, where we're hearing more about the defendant's movements through data collected and analyzed from cell phone towers.
Yeah, so this is between 12:07 and 3:03 p.m. and it basically shows the first interaction is at 12:07 from the orange, basically the cell phone, at tower number 1, and then you can see interactions between the phone and the car and various towers as the device and vehicle move northbound, most likely on I-95, and then eventually there's a vehicle data session at 2:03 in the vicinity of the residence.
Now, just to be clear, this box, the call-out box number 1, that reflected what time?
12:07 p.m.
Is that the cellular device itself, the phone, or is that the car?
That is the cellular device.
And I'm going back one moment to slide 11. When was the last time the phone was captured in the vicinity, time-wise, of this area?
12:03 p.m.
And so that gap of time that you were referring to, when did that attribute to? What time?
Between 10:15 a.m. and 12:03 p.m. on the 29th.
So that's when there were no data sessions?
Correct.
On the phone, to be specific?
Correct.
Were there those data sessions we just described on the vehicle, though?
Yes, you see that in most of those we're using tower number 4, the sector shown.
Would that be about in the middle of the screen?
It is, that's correct.
Now, going back to slide 12, can you tell if there's anything relevant about specifically call-out box 8 with respect to the vehicle data session?
Yeah, so again, that's a tower and sector in the vicinity of the residence, and the number 7403884, that tower number is the same one we saw on page number 9, kind of zoomed in, the one that was closest to the residence.
And that would be the same tower that was picking up on both of those times?
Same tower, yes.
I'm now going to talk to you a little bit about the drive testing. You indicated that you did do drive testing?
I did.
Okay. And can you tell us where specifically you drove tested?
Yeah. So I specifically wanted to map out 4 different towers to make sure we understood the footprint of those towers on the dates in November of 2022.
Okay. And so tower number, I'm on now slide number 14. What did you display here?
Yeah, so again, at the top, it shows that we drove test an AT&T tower. You see the cell ID, so it's the same 740-350-224. And you'll see on the left-hand side, that's the same call-out box that was shown on the previous slide, page number 11. And it was tower number 5 on that slide. And then on the right-hand side, we still have the locations of interest, all the body parts plus the pumping station. And then I show all the blue dots for AT&T devices. So this kind of amoeba that we're looking at here shows the footprint of the coverage area. So the dark purple in the middle is what we would call a dominant coverage area. So it's the strongest coverage area for that tower and sector. You'll see on the boundaries of the dark purple is light purple. That's that coverage area, or the overlap area. Remember how I said there's overlap between towers and sectors? So we see some of that overlap area would be the light pink or purple kind of area listed there. So this goes to show that the coverage area for this tower, represented by the yellow circle number 5, and you'll see the coverage area includes everything underneath it, plus locations around where the body parts were discovered.
Would it be fair then to say whether this does or does not provide coverage from that vehicle to the vicinity where those parts were recovered at those times?
It does. Some of them were in the overlap area, but yes, there's overall coverage to that area from this tower represented by number 5.
And I'm now looking at slide number 15. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
So again, I looked at the AT&T tower 740626-17, and you'll see on the left-hand side, I pulled a call-out box from page number 11, and the tower number kept it the same, tower number 4. And so you'll see the times that tower is used between 10.
Joining us now to discuss, attorney and former prosecutor Tommy Pope. As a former prosecutor, I can only imagine how many cell phone analyst experts you've had testify, because the state has to present this information. Tell us overall how you think this particular FBI agent is doing presenting this for the jury.
Judge, I'm going to date myself. I think our phone still had cords when I was a prosecutor, but I will say it was interesting as I've been listening. I think he's doing an exceptional job. I think we see it, and I was thinking, it may be an incentive for people to either quit having cell phones or quit committing crimes the way we've seen it in evidence. Of course, in the Reed trial, we saw it, and I thought it really locked things down, and clearly the jury thought different. But I think they're doing it well. They're basically proving by exclusion. As I heard last hour, you guys talking about his car, his phone. It's got to be the old some other dude did it who also had the same car and the same phone hitting the same towers. And so I really feel like this officer's being methodical, and I think the state's putting on a good, tight case.
It all kind of works together. You can actually visualize with his testimony where the car is, where it's going, the stops, then he picks something up, he goes here and there. According to the way the prosecutor lays it out, during this trip, he stops at Home Depot early in the morning, buys the knife. And at some point during this trip, he uses that knife to cut up the body, but they can't tell you where the body was cut up. And they're giving you all these stops, eventually ends up in places where body parts are found. So does that mean he's cutting the body in the forest or wherever he left the part? I mean, it makes sense, but then also, Tommy, it doesn't make sense. To me, there are some missing pieces.
Well, as I've been listening, I guess sometimes, and I know jurors do this too, Michael, where they kind of fill in the blanks. And in my mind, this gruesome butchery was taking place somewhere out in the woods that perhaps, if you're just dealing with blood, it may have, disappeared. It could have been covered versus the body parts. But again, the thought of dismembering and dragging to another location again, it's hard to grasp, but I think that's the defendant we're dealing with.
It's something else, though, to hear. I mean, he's told so many different stories. He had 2 police interviews. And as we're watching this unfold, all I can think is, how in the world can you convince a jury of his story that other guy Jim, did this? What kind of evidence would you want to see just quickly before we need to step aside?
Sure, Judge. I think he's going to probably have to step up. But what's he got to lose? He's told so many stories, and you're dealing with a lawyer who thinks he's probably smarter than everybody else. He's been taking his notes. I think he's going to have to try to save himself, and I don't know if he hadn't dug himself too deep to snatch himself out of that fire.
Yeah.
Think about what a spectacle that'll be.
Yes.
If he tries to get on the stand and tell those stories.
I can't imagine he will, but on the other hand, he might be convinced he can.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
All right.
We'll all be tuning in on that one.
Yes.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, Tommy, stand by. I do need to step aside now. On the other side of the break, the FBI agent will be on cross-examination in the dismembered wife murder trial. We'll see what the defense does with him. Keep it here on Court TV Live.
That Jim is so good at his job of protecting you. Why would he not protect her? Why would he not come forward with any evidence now?
I think Jim lied to me about a million things.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott.
And I'm Michael Ayala. We are continuing our coverage in the dismembered wife murder trial of Nicholas Kassotis. Now, he's accused of killing his wife, Mindy, back in November of 2022 while they were on the run.
Prosecutors say at the time Kassotis was trying to avoid paying a $1.5 million judgment to his ex-wife, and that he also met another woman and killed Mindy. The defense claims they were on the run because a man named Jim McIntyre, who identified himself as an FBI agent, according to the defendant, told them their lives were in danger.
Now, Jim McIntyre came up during part of Kassotis' police interview when investigators asked him if he thought Jim killed his wife. Kassotis said it's possible. All right, I want to get you back into court now, where an FBI agent who analyzed data from cell towers is now on cross-examination by the defense.
Agent Berni, this is slide 6 that you prepared, correct?
It is.
And you say that there is no mappable activity during the analyzed period for the 8828 Verizon number, correct?
Yeah, so listed on the bottom, it does say 8828. That's actually a typo. It's supposed to read 8328.
Oh, I wasn't trying to point out your typo. So let's just, the 8328 number has no mappable data.
That's correct.
This period. And the 0847 number also has no mappable data, correct?
That's correct.
And from that information, you can't infer that the phone was turned off necessarily, correct?
No, you can't. So especially on the 8328, on the other one, we could maybe see if there were calls incoming. I don't recall if there were calls incoming that went to voicemail. So it is possible to see if a device is off the network based on the call detail records. I'll be honest, I don't recall.
That's fine. Let me put it another way. Could the phone number 8328 been put into airplane mode, for example?
Yes, it could have.
Could it have been put into what you are calling Wi-Fi mode, for example?
It could have pulled it off the network, yes.
And when you say Wi-Fi mode, what do you mean by that? Would you explain that to the jury?
Yeah, so Wi-Fi mode is basically pulling the cell phone device off the cellular network and using it only for Wi-Fi calling. So you would only have service when you have Wi-Fi, internet through Wi-Fi.
So if the 8328 number is connected to Wi-Fi, if it's in Wi-Fi mode, it could still be having data communications, correct?
That's correct.
It could be surfing the internet, correct?
Absolutely.
It could be sending and receiving messages, not SMS, not phone messages, but it could be sending and receiving messages in other ways, correct?
Correct.
It could be using Signal to send and receive messages, correct?
Signal, correct, and iMessages.
And iMessages. And the same for the 4570 number, correct? If it was in Wi-Fi mode, it could also be engaging in data communications.
That's correct. Any device taken off of the network, as long as you still have internet in Wi-Fi mode, you can use it. I mean, it's basically a computer, right, in the palms of our hand.
let's go to slide 9, please. Thank you. Can we look at that Home Depot location that you have marked on this slide for a moment? Cell tower CID 740384-8. That's the one with the number 1. That's an AT&T tower, correct?
It is.
And then also cell tower number 3, CID 744408-9. That's also an AT&T tower, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what is that tower directly above the label HD on the map? What kind of tower is that?
That's another AT&T blue dot. So it's another AT&T tower in there.
Okay. And it appears that the blue dot above the HD is closer than the number 3, the cell tower mark 3, correct?
It does, yep.
Do you know why, when you're sitting here, and I know you don't have all your information, but do you know why the cell phone may have been hitting off of or pinging the tower we'll call the number 3 tower versus the tower above the HD?
Yeah, so again, remember when I started and we showed pictures of towers, not every tower is created equal, right? So some towers are really tall and some could be really short. My guess is the blue dot above HD is meant to service the traffic as it goes through 80 there, and then whatever that cross street is there. So it could be a smaller tower that's meant to cover a smaller area than tower number 3. I don't recall the height of tower number 3 off the top of my head.
But again, as you, I think, testified on your direct, you don't always necessarily hit the closest tower, correct?
Yeah, not always. The vast majority of time we do, but not always.
We are following breaking news out of Texas. A deadly shooting has just happened outside a Target store in Austin.
Police say at least 3 people have been killed in the store's parking lot. The suspect has been arrested. The Austin police chief says the suspect stole the car after the shooting and then fled the scene, but he wrecked that car, then stole another before being captured in South Austin.
The police chief also says the suspect is a white male who appears to be 32 years old with a, quote, mental health history. Of course, Court TV will continue to follow this developing story. Right now, let's take that break. When we come back, the FBI agent wraps up his testimony on cross-examination.
A woman's remains found scattered throughout a 3-mile area.
Now, a former naval officer stands trial accused of killing his wife.
The Dismembered Wife murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, untangling a web of lies and deceit as a former naval officer stands accused of murder. We're live with the latest from the Dismembered Wife murder trial.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
You know, your story is just so unbelievable. Everything you say and has continued to say has been a lie. Your life's a lie. The evidence shows. Sir, I believe I've lied to you for years. You continue to lie.
Welcome back. Let's get you back inside that courtroom where the FBI agent is wrapping up his testimony, cross-examination by the defense.
November of 2022, when the incident to when I drove test in 2023, I reviewed those 2 tower lists to see if there were any changes in the area in which I'm going to drive test. So if there's been a change and now there's 5 more towers in the middle of that area, then doing a drive test would be no good, right? Because we're going to get the things that are today or the time period in 2023, not back in 2022. So I reviewed those 2 tower lists to make sure that there wasn't any tower changes in both AT&T and T-Mobile in the area in which I drove test.
Okay. And remaining on slide 14, you have the AT&T, which is, I believe is the vehicle, correct?
It is.
You have the AT&T pinging off the tower 5 at 10:33:59 a.m., correct?
That's correct.
Where within that purple area is the vehicle at 10:33:59 a.m.?
Yeah, I can't say specifically where. All I can say is that it is most likely in the dominant or darker colored coverage area.
So you don't know, looking at this data that you've received from AT&T, that the vehicle was anywhere near where the torso was recovered, for example?
Well, your term anywhere
Well, okay,
near.
let me be more
yeah,
specific.
Yeah.
Can you tell whether it was within a mile of there by looking at this drive map?
I can say that it could have been. I can't say with definity that it was. Because again, you can.
I'm sorry, I want to let you.
Yeah, because again, you can see the coverage area. So it's somewhere within the darker shaded, most likely, because the other is some overlap area between those two.
And I don't have a pointer that works on this, but it could also be at the southernmost area of the dominant area that you've highlighted in the darker purple, correct?
It could have been, but I say it's probably not, more so because of the activity around these two. So you got 1033 and 1034. Well, it used tower number 4, again, in this slide, the one near Riceboro, which is kind of on the right-hand side, that's tower number 4 right there. So it uses tower number 4 before 1021 and after at 1041. So I would probably put the device in the northern eastern side of the drive test, if you were to ask me based on my training and experience.
But it could be anywhere within the drive test area.
If you look solely at the drive test results and not the other things together, then yes, it could have been anywhere within it. But you also have to look at the things on the outside.
I understand.
Yeah.
If we could go to slide 15, please. This is the drive test area for cell tower 4, correct?
It is.
And once again, for cell tower 4, that vehicle that has the AT&T, I guess, modem in it, I don't know what to call it, the AT&T cellular transmitter in it, that could be anywhere within the dominant, or even not the dominant region that you've highlighted here, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I would say based on the amount of times and the time periods in between some of those times, it's most likely in the dominant. If it was in the other, we'd probably see it jumping off of other towers. If it was in the overlap period, more so. But yes, it could be anywhere within the dominant shaded area.
So cell tower data like this that you're using, it can tell you regions, areas in which the cell tower could be located, correct?
Yeah, that's why with this data, we tend to say general location. I've said it probably 100 times, right? The general location of a device. Because we can't be specific and say it's on this side of the street versus this side of the street with this data we have for this.
But it's not like where I pull out my cell phone and I pull up Google Maps and it shows a point on my cell phone and it says, okay, I am here.
Correct, yeah, it's not GPS. The phone companies actually don't track your GPS. They don't care where you are with that definitive amount of purpose. Now, an app or Google may, but the phone company is looking at the towers and sectors that you use.
Thank you very much, Special Agent Berni.
Thanks, sir.